Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. Now, what's Open Mic? You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we use the second half of the show to take live questions from the audience. But here on the weekends, that's all we do. It's just all open mic, talking about the things you guys want to talk about. And listen, we're going to start off. And by the way, I hope you guys have a wonderful start to your weekend. It's Saturday. I hope you guys are doing things that are both fun and relaxing at the same time and recharging the batteries for another week ahead. Listen, there are a bunch of people wrote in to me about this. So I thought I would start off today's show by talking about something that I'm sure a few of you will write in about anyway, but we might as well get this here right off the top. And that's this. You know, one of my favorite shows on television now that I didn't, you know, it's funny that a bunch of my favorite shows are shows that I didn't even think were going to be any good. You know, like I really like The Flash. I didn't think that show was going to be any good. I thought Lucifer looked dumb when I saw the trailers for it, and I didn't get on board with it till about 4 or 5 weeks into it, maybe even longer than that. And now I love it. I didn't like the look of Doom Patrol. I thought, look, that looked dumb, and now I love it. And I did not like the idea, being honest. I didn't like the idea of them doing What We Do in the Shadows as a TV series. I didn't like the idea of it. I thought, come on, this is going to be like a self ripoff, because I knew Taika Waititi was still producing it and writing some of it. This is just going to be a self ripoff of the movie. You know, why do this? This is a bad idea. And so I didn't watch it for the first few weeks that it was on. And then my wife, Anne, said, oh my God, you've got to watch this. And then so we started watching it. Anyway, they're just into season 2 right now. But even before the end of season 2, the news has come out. What We Do in the Shadows has been picked up for renewal for season 3. And listen, a show getting picked up for renewal for another season is not normally a big piece of news that I would talk about on one of my videos. But, you know, it's my show, so I get to talk about the shows that excite me. I am so thrilled because I have no idea. I honestly have no idea what the ratings are for the show. I don't know. It feels to me like a lot of people don't watch this show. And so I was just taking every episode as a gift, you know, because it's probably not going to last long. I have very few of my friends watch What We Do in the Shadows. And so I haven't heard from a lot of people that say they watch What We Do in the Shadows. So I honestly didn't know if it was doing well enough that it was going to get a season 3. Quite frankly, I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, but trying to be in denial that season 2 was probably going to be it. So I'm totally thrilled that they have come back and they're doing a season 3, which is great. And I just yesterday, Ann and I watched the newest episode with the online troll. Oh my God, so good. And I love every character in this show. Like, it's funny because it's one of these shows where I go back and forth between which is my favorite character. You know, one day Laszlo is my favorite character. And then the next episode comes like, no, Nandor is my favorite character. And then it's like, oh no, I forgot. Nadja is my favorite character. But then my wife, it's like, nope, it's Guillermo. Guillermo is the best character in the show. And then, of course, there's Colin Robinson. There's the energy vampire, who I just like that character more and more that he's on the show. It's a fantastic ensemble. I love it. Guys, just trust me. If you haven't started watching this show yet, watch it. You don't even have to watch the movie first. Although I would recommend watching the movie first. It's the Taika Waititi movie. Fabulous film. But yeah, do get on this show. So yeah, anyway, it got renewed for season 3 and I'm plenty happy about it. If you couldn't tell, I'm very, very happy about it. All right, guys, with that down, let's now move on to your live questions that you guys have been sending in for today's show. So let's jump on over there and start getting to it. Brizzle writes, best wishes, the force is with you, and sent in a really generous tip for the show. Thank you so much for that, Brizzle. I appreciate that. It's always nice when somebody wants to write in just to say something positive. Thank you about that, man. I appreciate that. All right. Nick writes, buongiorno, Giovanni. Buongiorno. With this recent Back to the Future 2 edit on Netflix, after what Disney Plus did with Splash, it got me thinking. Sex and nudity is a natural thing. Well, yes, that's true, but there are a lot of things that are natural. But hey, we'll talk about that in a second. Violence should not be a natural thing, in my opinion. So why do we censor sexual themes in movies, but not violence? All right, thanks a lot for saying that. And by the way, the Back to the Future 2 thing got clarified, right? The studio accidentally, because remember on the show yesterday, I'm like, I don't understand why Netflix would edit this. I understand why Disney Plus did the edit. I don't understand why Netflix would. And I was just very confused by it. I said, I just don't get it. Why would they do that? Turns out, and somebody wrote in near the end of the show yesterday, the studio accidentally sent a cut of the film to Netflix that was meant to go to one of their international markets that wanted that shot of the magazine cover cut out. And so it really was a big misunderstanding, which is good because I couldn't figure it out. I said, I just can't figure out why would Netflix edit this out? What would be their motivation? Why would they even want to? I don't understand. Anyway, getting back to the splash thing. Yes, sex is a natural thing. Nudity is a natural thing. Taking a shit is a natural thing too. But we're not about, I don't want to turn on to NBC and watch the Office reunion and, I don't know, seeing Creed squatting down and taking a shit. I mean, it's natural. We all do it. It's natural. Yeah. So just because something is natural doesn't mean it's good for family viewing. I just don't think that's a good be-all cover statement for stuff like that. Anyway, as far as violence goes, I mean, I've always struggled with violence because, listen, violence is even in the most rudimentary of children's programs. Like, look, if you're like me, even though it was before my time, it was still the most dominant cartoons when I was growing up as a kid was still like reruns of Roadrunner and stuff like that, right? But like even Roadrunner, Bugs Bunny, things like that are inherently really violent. I mean, you've got the whole premise of most of the Bugs Bunny cartoons is of this kind of Unabomber loner FUD who is a total loner, always by himself, and stalks our hero with a shotgun. And the whole point of it, he's trying to murder that, or Roadrunner. You know, you've got this Roadrunner just doing his thing, man. And then you get this loner that lives next door that keeps to himself, this wily coyote, who all he does is try to come up with machinations to murder our hero, right? So it is kind of weird when you think about it, right? It's a little bit weird when you think about that. Violence is very inherent in a lot of our storytelling, in a lot of our media. I mean, then you even move to my contemporary, like to the cartoons that were cartoons when I was actually a kid. You know, we had Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats. I mean, all of these shows are inherently violent, right? They're inherently violent. So, you know, why did we as a culture and species micro-evolve to the point where nudity, sex, taking a big shit on screen, whatever other natural things, we consider, you know, not family friendly, but other sorts of things that we think are okay? I don't know. That's a good question for a sociologist. But I mean, but then it's not just violence isn't just violence. There's different types of violence, right? So there's, you know, Wile E. Coyote in a silly cartoon having a big Acme rock that he's trying to drop on Roadrunner. Or then there's a horrific image in a movie that I saw not too long ago where a kidnapper grabs the hair of their victim, holds their head down, takes a knife and slits their throat. I think we would all agree there's a difference, right? Maybe it's difficult to quantify the difference. So I think it's an excellent question, Nick. I mean, but again, I do think it is where we are at. The whys is a deeper question, I think, for the philosophers and the sociologists as we move forward. But it's an excellent question. All right, let's move on here. Next up, James L.H. writes, John, about the Superman killing. Where did superheroes don't kill come from? I know Affleck's was criticized for killing. I don't get it. Keaton's Batman killed with his car, his plane. He also placed a bomb on a bad guy, then dropped him down a hole. Actually, there is, was that the end of it? Yeah. There's I can't remember if it was Mr. Sunday Movies or somebody did this great video that I normally point people to whenever they say, Batman doesn't kill. I'm like, really? Really? And then I point them to this video where it's like 60 times, or maybe it was like 30 times. I can't remember, but it was a big number. All the times Batman has killed in the movies prior to Ben Affleck's Batman. And there's a lot. And you just pointed out some of the high profile. Michael Keaton's Batman killed a lot of people. Michael Keaton's Batman killed a lot of people. Christian Bale's Batman, because I remember I was a little bit stunned, but it's like true. In the video, they also point out the times that Christian Bale's Batman killed people in the Batman films. Batman kills. And I showed, I brought up comic strips on my show once. I showed, look, people say Batman never kills. Well, and I brought in some comic strips. If you guys have watched my show for a long time, you remember the episode. I brought in the comic strips. Like, here's Batman saying, there's this one iconic, to me at any rate, strip where, Robin is basically trying to say, Batman, we need to go kill this guy. And Batman's saying, no, there's a line we don't cross. If we kill the guy, we're no better than the criminals. To which Robin then says to Batman, remember, this is in the comics, but you've killed people. And Batman says, yes, in self-defense, but blah, 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 blah. Batman kills people. And we recognize that over the history of Batman, the different comic book characters evolve, right? They go through evolutions where maybe in this era, such and such is important to that character. Then a different era, such and such is important to a character. It's certainly true that we've been in an era where, not taking a life is a very firm foundational thing to Batman. But I've always found that thing to be very disingenuous, because even the comic book writers who try to adhere to Batman never kills, they have Batman doing things to criminals that would kill them. And if they don't die, it's by the sheerest of luck. I remember the one I brought out this comic strip once where Batman is waiting in the rafters of this like old abandoned house, and there's the thug down on the floor, and Batman leaps out of the rafters, comes down probably 15 feet, and then knees in the chest of the bad guy and right into the floor. And then they break through the floor and fall all the way down through to the next story of the floor with the full weight of a 240-pound Batman with his knees on the criminal's chest. And all the criminal goes is, oof. And then you see Batman's thought bubble. 8 broken ribs, ruptured spleen. He'll be in traction for 6 months at Gotham Hospital. I'm like, no, that would have killed him. He'd be dead. So there's always been a little bit of a disingenuousness to that, right? Batman doing the things he does would kill people. The things he does would kill people, but they just say in the comics it doesn't. So it's this weird thing. And that's why when I go into comic book movies, I don't want to see my superheroes killing people for no reason, right? Like you watch the opening of any Avengers movie, like Avengers kill a lot of people. The Avengers kill a lot of people, all right? They murder a lot of people. And I don't want to see my heroes murdering people for no reason, but if you're in life and death combat in a fictional story, yeah, I don't mind. When Iron Man has dudes in tanks pointing the guns of their tanks at him, I don't blame Iron Man for firing off a couple of wrist rockets and blowing up the tank, thus killing the guys inside. I'm okay with that in a fictional sense. I'm okay with that. When Batman is engaged in the movies in a life and death struggle with murderers with weapons and firearms and guns are trying to kill him, in stopping them, some of them dudes may die. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay as long as they never portray, I just want to go out and kill a person. As long as that's the line they don't cross, like that Jason Todd and Batman were talking about in the comics. That's the line that, to me, that Batman said, yeah, I've killed them in self-defense, but we can't cross that line. We're just going out there and our whole purpose is to go out there and kill them. To me, that's my line as an individual reader and viewer and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, these characters have killed a lot of people. But anyway, there's that. Okay, thanks for that, James. Let's see. Russ Bucket writes, when/if they introduce the X-Men into the MCU, do you think they can say they were there all along, hiding in plain sight by Professor X in some way? No, it doesn't work. A lot of people have asked that before. Here's the logic problem with that, right? Here's the logic problem with that. Some kid born in St. Louis, turning teenager, gone through puberty, his mutant powers have now manifested. And he accidentally blows up a car. There, cover's broke. Now everybody knows. So Professor X has to do a global-wide mind wipe. Okay, 10 minutes later, in Johannesburg, a dude with mutant powers decides to rob a bank. It's caught on camera. Okay, Professor X has to do a global mind wipe. Okay. 5 minutes later, another mutant manifests. And remember, a lot of mutants, they have physical manifestations where they look different. And now this kid suddenly looks like a big fish walking around his high school. Okay. Charles Xavier does a planet-wide mind wipe. So in 15 minutes, he's done 4 planet-wide mind wipes. And then he has to do it again 3 minutes later, and then 30 seconds later, and then another minute later, and then 30 seconds later, and then another 5 minutes later. Because there are thousands of mutants, some good, some bad, some physical manifestations, some not. So I don't know that they've been there the whole time and just nobody ever knew. I don't know that that works. I don't know that that works. Now, this is, again, puts me in a position I hate being in, because I hate it when people come to me with a problem, but not, and I mean this as, when I would have a staff work for me. I don't like it when a staff would come to me with a problem, unless they come to me with a problem and then maybe a suggestion or two, even if they're bad suggestions, but a suggestion or two about how to do it better. And I find myself in that position right now, that doesn't work, but I don't have a better idea. So I can sit here and say, well, here's why that won't work, and here's why that won't work. And yeah, and I believe that. I don't think this works, but I don't have a better idea. That's why Kevin Feige and his guys get paid the big bucks, to try to come up with some way that narratively makes it make sense while staying true to the mythology of what the X-Men are. Can they do it? I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I haven't come up with a good way to do it. So, I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Kevin Feige comes up with. All right. Next up, the Wakandan Forever writes, well, John, thanks, John. I feel really smart. The Bruce Lee, the nunchucks thing. That's right. The Bruce Lee nunchucks thing is fake. I would have sworn it was real. When did you find out it was a commercial thing? Even the best and brightest of us have our bad days. They got me. So for those of you who don't know what Wakandan Forever is talking about, there was a gut on a string talking about Bruce Lee. And Wakanda Forever asked, hey, have you seen this incredible video footage of Bruce Lee playing ping pong, but using nunchucks, right? It's one of the most insane things ever. And if you go and look it up, it is one of the most insane looking things ever. And it looks like it comes out of the 70s. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it looks perfect, but it's fake. And some of you maybe have seen that footage before and didn't know it was fake. It's fake. It was done in 2008 as a part of an ad. I believe it was a Nokia ad. But I mean, I don't like using the word perfect a lot. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. About the way they did it. The way they did it was absolutely perfect. And it looks real. And sure, the first time you see it, you're going to buy into it. You're going to buy into it the first time you see it. But then, then you go, that's not physically possible. Like what Bruce Lee is doing in that video is not physically possible. And so you look into it a little bit and you find out. So I've known for a number of years, but I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, and I remember I come from I worked in a visual effects company. So like even I was like jaw drop, like, that looks perfect. Couldn't believe it. All right. Next up here. Where are we at? Hold on a second. Why can't I get this to move? There we go. Okay, an anonymous viewer writes, just watched the newest episode of the gallery making of The Mandalorian. It was my favorite so far. When it ended, I was like, is it over already? Because they're only like 20-something minutes long. Very insightful and just the kind of content I was wanting from the show all along. Very cool stuff. Yeah, I had somebody else write in yesterday to tell me about that. And yeah, I mean, I have not watched the latest episode. I liked episode 1 very much. Hated episode 2. Liked episode 3. And I've heard that this 4th episode is the best one so far. So I'm very, very excited because it's actually about what went into how did this show come about kind of thing, right? And that's the thing I'm kind of looking forward to. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right. Ryan DG124 writes, hey, John, any recommendations on 4K full screen movies? The black bars are getting old to me. I know there is the Avengers, but that's all that I know of. Thanks. I don't watch a lot of 4K. 4K to me right now is still kind of an unnecessary thing. I know a lot of people who love 4K, and I have watched a few things in 4K, and I like 4K. As a matter of fact, when I bought my new TVs, I made sure my new TVs, this is going back like 6 months to a year ago, but I bought a new TV for our main living room. I got a nice, it was on sale. So I got a nice 75-inch 4K TV, put above the fireplace. Love it. It's great. I've watched some 4K content. Bought like a 50-inch. Couldn't believe this. I'm trying to go back to like 2014, John. And if I could go back to 2014, John, and say, hey, 2014, John, I'm 2000. This was late 2019. I'm 2019, John. I just bought a 50-inch 4K television for $299. 1914, John would have called him a dirty liar and sent him back to the pits of hell. But yeah, it's crazy we can get this stuff for now. But anyway, so when I bought my new TVs, I bought them 4K, and I'm ready for more material, but I don't really watch a lot of it. But remember, the black bars are not black bars, right? It's not like they slap black bars on the top and the bottom. It's that to fill out that space means they're going to have to, on the left and the right side of the screen, you're going to have to lose some of the footage and not see some of the footage. By having it in the proper aspect ratio, yes, it leaves blank areas at the top and bottom, but you're actually seeing the full picture of the movie. Now, in most televisions, there are options in most TVs today, almost all of them. There are options. If you go through the menuing system of your TV, there are options to blow up the image. And so if you want, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want, you can blow up the image so that the top of the screen hits the top of the TV and the bottom of the picture hits the bottom of the TV. You're going to lose some stuff on the left and the right off screen, but you will be getting rid of those things. So I would say if it's really important to you, and we all have our own individual unique viewing preferences, if that's important to you, look through the menuing system of your TV. You should find an option where you can blow up the image. So, and that might solve your problem. All right, that's the best I got for you, Ryan DG. Simon writes, I have never done this, but I disagree with Uga Booya's assertion that Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is a dream. The cornerstone of it was Flashpoint, and it begins with the line that Barry's mother told him from that movie, one of two. Accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and have the wisdom to know the difference. That's the Alcoholic's Prayer. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's from the Alcoholic's Prayer. And know the difference. Justice League Dark shows us the world that was changed from Flashpoint, so it's not a dream. Okay, so I haven't seen it, but the way you just described it, I can see why Uga Booyas called it a dream. I'm just saying, from the way you just described it, Simon, I can see why he would say it's a dream. Like, it's not, it's an else world. It's an alternate world reality. That's probably how he meant it, I'm guessing. But again, I have not seen Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. I don't really plan on it. I'm trying to talk myself into it, but I don't really plan on it. Anyway, so just from your description, I'm guessing that's why he described it that way. And I can see why he would describe it that way, or why he would define it that way from your description. But again, I haven't seen it. Maybe I will at some point. But thanks for clarifying that, Simon. I appreciate that, dude, for bringing some clarity to that. Simon also then writes, to me, Justice League Dark was more of an epic story akin to Avengers Infinity War, but you have to suspend realistic expectations, and I really think that DC should allow their stories to have some more realism instead of fantasy. Again, it's hard for me to comment on that when I haven't watched this particular movie. But I mean, it seems to me that the animation medium is the medium. If you want to delve more into fantasy, then the animation medium is the way to do it. And maybe that's their outlet for that. But again, I can't comment on whether I agree or disagree with your one assertion that they should embrace realism more when I haven't seen the movie that is the subject of our conversation right now. So if I do watch it, I will try to keep in mind what you said, and I'll look out for that, Simon. I'll keep an eye open for that. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Juicy writes, hey, John, greetings from Finland. Finland. The land of Yari Curry. And if you're from Finland, everybody knows Yari Curry. Anyway, greetings from Finland. About the CW final episodes, in the Ahsoka versus Maul fight, you said the speed of movement showed that it was animation. But have you seen the behind-the-scenes video on Star Wars Channel? Ray Parks and Lauren May's Kim movements match the animation. Okay, you misunderstood what I was saying. The speed, I know that the animation was taken from motion capture. We know that. What I was saying was that the speed of it, because what they do is they took the motion capture And then in a bunch of moments, they speed it up 2 times. And then in some movements, they speed it up like 3 or 4 times. And what I was saying was that because somebody had said to me, if you watch these last episodes, like the combat's really good. And I watch it and say, yeah, the combat choreography is good. But what I don't like about it, and this isn't just there's other animations that have done this, other animations that I like that have done the same thing. And this one thing I don't like is that when they do the combat, instead of just showing the combat at the speed at which the artists do the motion capture, it's got to be faster. So instead of boom, 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 and something feeling very real, it's like it's a Pokemon thing, right? Or it's a Dragon Ball Z. Like, instead of like having a more real feel. Like, that's why I would rather watch, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul fight in real life, because their movements, there are some points though in those two that they even exaggerate, but for the most part, you're seeing the movement in real speed. And what I was saying was the speed of it, yes, it was definitely caught on motion capture, but I'm saying the speed of it takes me out of it. When suddenly they're moving at like some supersonic speed that they never do in the live action stuff, that kind of takes me out of it a little bit. And again, Star Wars isn't the only culprit of that. There's others that do that as well. Actually, Kung Fu Panda was one I talked about before, because I really like Kung Fu Panda. I really, really do enjoy that. And the fight choreography in Kung Fu Panda is actually fantastic. But there are times when they do it so quickly that it's like it pulls me out of it a little bit. But anyway, I'm not trying to get you to agree with it. I'm just saying that I wasn't saying that the speed of it made, so clearly they didn't use motion capture. Oh, no. They used motion capture for sure. It's just that then they ramped up the speed, and I just don't like it when they do that in combat. That's just me. That's just my own personal preference. So that's just my own personal taste. All right. Koa1708 writes, so what exactly do they need to do to finish the Snyder Cut? Well, according to the Hollywood Reporter article in their interview with Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder, everything. As far as post-production, they need to do all post-production. That article specifically said none of the CGI for that specific stuff was done, and none of the real post-production was done, which caught me by surprise, because while I've known the whole time that the completed version didn't exist, I thought it was because everybody said all this other stuff was done, so I thought more of it was done. So apparently they got a lot of work to do, which is why a lot of people are saying this $30 million price tag to finish it probably isn't true. It's probably going to cost more. But yeah, what they don't have to do is shoot more scenes. Some people are saying that, the Hollywood Reporter article said that they're going to bring in the cast to shoot more scenes. That's not what the Hollywood Reporter article said. What the Hollywood Reporter article said was they may bring in some cast to record additional dialogue. That means they might have some of the cast come into a sound booth to blah, 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 and record dialogue, but they're not going to get up in costume again and shoot more. At least that's what Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder say. So they're not going to be bringing anybody back to put on the costumes again and shoot new scenes. They've shot all the scenes. Zack Snyder had shot all the scenes. Now what they got to do is do all the post-production on it. And that's the part that's going to be so expensive. So that's what they have to do. All right. Shane Roxas writes, hey, John, I, like you, am not a big fan of the DC or Marvel animated films. However, I just watched Apocalypse War, and honestly, it's very good. I think it's definitely worth a watch. To me, it felt like the endgame of the DC animated film universe. Yeah, I'm hearing, listen, I'm hearing from some people it's not that good, but I'm also hearing from a number of people that it is pretty good. So, like I said, I'm in this position where I'm trying to convince myself to watch it. Now, yeah, you're right. Most Marvel or DC animated stuff, particularly Marvel and DC's straight-to-home video animated stuff, I've never found that good. I don't like their animation styles. I think they look cheap. Their stories are usually bad and weak and all that kind of stuff. And now there are some exceptions. The Marvel Doctor Strange movie, I quite liked it. Under the Red Hood, I quite like that one. So there are exceptions. I just find for the most part I don't. But because of people like you, Shane, saying that you watched and you liked it, I am trying to talk myself into watching it. So we'll see if I'm able to accomplish that or not. All right, James writes, bleeding a crystal doesn't introduce mood into color choice. Oh, this again? Anyway, George made All bad guys choose red. Anakin, happy and good equals blue. Vader, hate, evil equals red. Bleeding a crystal answers why all bad guys choose red. Mood equals color is not a new concept in Star Wars. Yes, all the bad guys choose red. But the why their lightsabers are red was idiotic. The bleeding of the crystal concept, this is why the bad guys' lightsabers are red, is idiotic. Because it doesn't answer, okay, well then why did Luke, then why isn't it just two colors then? Why isn't it just blue and why isn't it just red? Why is there also green? Why is there also purple? Why is there also white? Why is there also, so it becomes, by trying to give a scientific reason, just say Sith use red lightsabers. That is their color. It's symbolic, it's representative, and that's why those who are of the dark side use red. Great. Instead, they give this thing, no, they pour their anger and malice into the crystal. It's so ridiculous, and it is mood. You see, they just should have left it as it's just what they choose. Whether it's for a ceremonial symbolic reason or whatever, but this whole bleeding the crystal thing is just idiotic. It's just completely idiotic. Now, there are others who like the notion, and that's great. I'm not saying you're idiotic if you like it, not in the least. But to me, the concept is dumb. But anyway, that's just me. That's just me. All right, Murray Reich writes, Season 3 of What We Do in the Shadows is coming, baby. Indeed it is. Can't wait. Episode 7 was so funny, especially the trolling part. I loved that episode. Without spoiling anything, it was so good. Listen, I have loved, like, when I did finally get caught up and watch Season 1, I was like, oh God, please don't have a Season 2 jinx and go back. And Season 2 has been every bit as good. The Mark Hamill episode, though, and it's not because it was Mark Hamill, but the Mark Hamill episode this season of What We Do in the Shadows was probably my favorite episode so far. Well, then there's that other episode where they have to face the Vampire Council. That was, and I won't say why that scene is so awesome, but you should check it out. It's really great. But yes, Marie, and that episode was great. And Colin, you know, the funny thing is, Colin Robinson might be the most powerful of their vampires. Like, as silly as it is, but the way they're evolving him, he may be the most powerful vampire. It's just kind of weird. Anyway, I love that character. I didn't know if I would like the Colin character at first, but it's totally grown on me. I love the character now. Anyway, next up. Hey, John. So I liked some good news quite a bit, but I don't know if I'll follow it to all access. The things I loved was John Krasinski hosting. He's the main draw for me. I understand that it wasn't going to go on forever, but yeah, no interest in it now. So for those of you who don't know what Ben's talking about, yesterday on the John Campea Show, we talked about the story that John Krasinski has sold the rights to SGN, Some Good News, his YouTube show, to CBS and Viacom. And they're going to now take it and produce it. And John Krasinski's not going to host it anymore and all that kind of stuff. And to me, I said the same thing on the show. I said, isn't the main draw of that show, besides that it's just a great idea of some good news, some good uplifting stories in the time of the quarantine? I still love the concept. But the real hook for me was John Krasinski himself hosting it. But who knows? Maybe another host will come in and do it and it'll be great. But the reality was, with now Hollywood starting to ramp up production again, like yesterday we also talked about how Avatar 2 is going to start production again next week. Batman is going to start production again in the next couple of weeks. A bunch of movies are now coming back and they're going to start their production things again. The reality is we weren't going to get SGN anymore. John Krasinski was going to have to go back to work and he was not going to have time to do that anymore. So if the option is we don't get any more SGN, or we still get it and John Krasinski kind of executive produce it and tries to help shape its direction. And if they can get a really good host and if they can maintain the DNA of what it is, maybe it can work. But I'm with you. My biggest concern about it is not John Krasinski hosting, but we'll see. We'll see how it works out. All right. Ronan writes, one of two. I was thinking of how nice it would have been to replace Forrest Whitaker with Wesley Snipes in Black Panther. Oh, God, no. As a mentor and trainer. I love Whitaker and respect Feige, but how cool would it have been to see Boseman and Snipes fight side by side? No. Against Killmonger's Horde. Beautiful Shuri and Okoye played great side characters, but for me, I feel it should have shown someone who trained T'Challa fight when they needed him most. Maybe I've watched the final of Endgame too many times. Your thoughts, Mr. Campea? No, I disagree. For a couple of reasons. Number one, Forrest Whitaker is just a much better actor than Wesley Snipes. I like Wesley Snipes. Don't get me wrong. Forrest Whitaker is an Academy Award winning actor. He's just a much better actor. He's the guy to put in if you have your choice. But the other thing is, if they had cast it with Wesley Snipes, that doesn't change the script. It doesn't change the script. The script still says these characters do these things, period. Should they have written another? No, we didn't need another significant character doing even more significant things. There's lots of people in there. I don't think we needed another character to take away screen time from Okoye, or to take away screen time from T'Challa, or take away screen time from Shuri, or to take away screen time for whatever doing their action stuff. M'Baku needed more action sequences. They should have put... I want an M'Baku spin-off movie, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there into the universe. Give me an M'Baku spin-off movie. That said, so no. I mean, you're asking me, so you're asking me for my opinion, so I'll give you my opinion. No, I don't think that would have worked at all. I don't think that would have worked at all. But, and again, the casting had nothing to do with it. That character was going to do what they do regardless of who they cast in the role, because that's the story. Remember, the story is not there to serve the actor. The actors are there to serve the story. You don't go, oh, we've got this actor in it now. Well, let's change our script. Nah. So I don't think it would have worked. And honestly, I would prefer getting the better actor, personally. And again, I don't say that to besmirch Wesley Snipes. I like Wesley Snipes. I'm saying you got an Academy Award winning actor in Forrest Whitaker. So I would have stayed with that personally, Ronan. Personally, I would have stayed with that. But that being said, I'm sure you'll probably find there'll be a bunch of people hearing your idea and maybe even getting excited about it. So I'm sure you're not alone in that opinion. I'm sure you're not alone in that. My personal opinion, though, is no. They cast the right guy and they did the right thing. That's how I feel about it at any rate. All right, next up, Major Tom writes, by the way, Wesley Snipes does have a cameo in What We Do in the Shadows, the TV series. Just throwing that out there. And it's hilarious. Anyway, Major Tom writes, classic film of the day, The Wizard of Oz. This was one of my grandmother's favorite movies, and me and my mom love it too. It's a joy to watch. That said, try watching while playing Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It's an experience. Yeah. Well, Wizard of Oz is one of those movies where every year at Christmas, like there's a couple of movies that get played at the Campea Ranch every Christmas. There's the Alistair's Christmas Carol. That one gets played. That old version of Christmas Carol gets played every year. And Wizard of Oz is another one of the movies that gets played every Christmas time. I don't know why. I mean, Wizard of Oz is clearly not a Christmas movie per se, but it's one of those movies that gets played in our house at the Campea Ranch every year. It's beyond classic. And what's funny is when you watch Wizard of Oz, you start to recognize its influences in a lot of other movies, just basic story things that they do and tropes that they kind of use have been used in a lot of different ways through the years. It's also a very influential film. It's kind of like The Godfather in that way. So yeah, man, I'm with you. I absolutely love that film. All right, Spencer writes, a couple of days ago, Heidi Modrovich, the showrunner of Lucifer, tweeted, "The premiere date is coming soon." Like soon. I think we'll be getting a date for Lucifer this week, and call me crazy, but I think it will be around the first week of June. Well, we've known for a while that the first half of the season, remember, they're splitting up the season into two parts. I believe it's 8 episodes and 8 episodes, I think. So I think there's 16 episodes in total, I think. But I believe for a while now, we've known that the premiere would be in June. We just don't know the exact date. But dude, Spencer, I will take sooner rather than later. I love that show. Like, I am a full-blown Lucifer evangelist. I know that sounds weird to say, but in terms of the television series, I am a full-blown Lucifer evangelist. I love that show. It's so charming and fun and funny. And of course, our very own Aaron Cummings is going to be appearing in this new season of Lucifer. So you guys got to keep your eyes. It's one episode. She's got a role in one episode. But keep your guys' eyes open for it. I'm looking forward to seeing her in it. And I'm just so excited for Lucifer to come back. All right, let's see. Jordan Genovese, who writes, "Hey John, a few weeks ago when you did that behind the scenes stream, the audio got cut out when you were talking about how you compile all of your tips together for the questions part of your stream. So we never found out how it works. Can you please describe that now?" Okay. So I'm trying to remember exactly. So if you're asking about how do I get this, when everybody sends in tips or super chats, and of course we have our super chats deactivated right now because YouTube, something really quirky was happening with YouTube. I explained it the other day, but I'll explain it here again now. So what happened was what would happen is people would send in a super chat, right? Then YouTube logs that super chat and it goes into a log, right? Then there are ways you can pull information out of that log to display. For example, I have here, this is a web window. This is a browser window here beside me of my Stream Elements activity log window, right? This is my Stream Elements activity log window. And what this window allows me to do is it allows me to pull in log information of both the tips that people send into, let me see if I can bring this up here. Yes, I can. The tips that people send into streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. So that's the best way, and now the only way, to send in tips and to send in questions on the show. You can send in a tip or a question or whatever simply by going there. And then what happens is that this window beside me, what this window does is it goes in to that log and pulls all those tip questions that get sent in. What is also supposed to happen is that this Stream Elements backend is also able to go into the YouTube log and look for the super chats. And what it then does is it pulls the super chat logs into this window as well. And it's supposed to display both the tips and the super chats. What happened the other day, though, was people were sending in super chats, and I could see the super chats coming in. However, once they were sending in the super chats, the super chats were just disappearing. The super chats were disappearing. They weren't there in the logs. And so the people were sending in super chats and they weren't appearing here in this Stream Elements window. So then what I did was I jumped into YouTube itself and I went into the logs in YouTube, and lo and behold, those super chats that I saw people sending in weren't there in the logs. And it's like, okay, that's bad, because here I've got people sending in. Number one, not people aren't just sending in questions. When sending their questions on Super Chat, they're sending in money to support the channel, and they're not getting their questions answered because YouTube fucking is losing it in the logs. And I freaked out off camera, but don't worry, my headphones are still alive. I was freaking out because when something happens, like, I don't mind something going wrong. I don't mind something bad happening per se, right? I don't mind that. The part that gets me really upset and the part that gets me hot is when something happens that is affecting my viewers. Whether it's echoing in the audio, oh, I get so mad when that happens. Whether it's there's something not happening and it's affecting my audience's viewing, or when people especially are sending in questions with money to support the show and I can't answer their questions now because I don't even know what they were. I'm going to try not to get too hot about it right now. But again, I want to emphasize no headphones were harmed in this disaster. No headphones were harmed in this disaster. So then it started looking like it was starting to work again. It would look like it was starting to work again. So I turned it back on. A couple of people sent in a couple of super chats, and then instantly they were disappearing from the logs again. So what I did was I turned off super chats, because I cannot risk people sending in money and then not getting their questions answered. That's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. And I got to try to figure out a way to make it up to these people, because it's just, I'm just, serenity now. Serenity now. Anyway, So, long of the story, to get back to your question about how do I gather up these here? This is a particular window I use in Stream Elements that pulls together everybody who sends in a tip or a super chat when I had super chats turned on. And so what I do then is I open up a window, a browser window on one of my many monitors. And then what I tell Wirecast is look at that monitor over there and take, like, because look, I'll move the window here. Do you see I'm moving the window? Woo, because it's just a browser window, right? It's just a browser window. What I tell Wirecast is look over at that monitor, and this area of the monitor, treat that as if it's a camera. Treat this as if it's a camera, and then I create a camera shot beside me of that area of my screen. So I have it open on one window, and I can put my mouse over it, and I can scroll up and down, and you can see that, and then it comes into Wirecast as a camera source, if you will. Right? So that's how that all comes together. How that all comes together. So I hope that answers your question and gives you, and yeah, I loved doing that behind the scenes video. I really got a kick out of that. I love being able to talk because I'm a real tech head. So I love being able to talk the technology that I use and the gear that I use. I just love doing all that stuff. So anyway, hopefully you found that helpful. Anyway, all right, let's move on here. Jordan Genovese also writes, also, have you ever seen ABC's The Middle? I never did watch that. No. It's hilarious. And what specific things, not just writing about Batwoman, made you turn away from the show? And did you like, I don't know what TF is. Now that it's over, would love to meet you if you ever come to Australia. Well, no, see, the thing about Batwoman was that it was the lack of anything to keep me there. Like, listen, I'm not trash talking on the Batwoman show. I'm just saying, for me, I watched the first 3 episodes, I believe, and there was just nothing there to keep me there. You know, I didn't find it particularly interesting. I didn't find the writing to be particularly good. I didn't really feel like it was doing something new in the CW universe. You know, like when Black Lightning came out, and it's not just that it was a black hero, it's just that they were doing different things in it than the other CW shows, right? And so I was just looking for something kind of different, and I just didn't find anything there to keep me there. So it's not like there was all these things that pushed me away. It was a lack of things to keep me there. And I just didn't find it interesting, and I kind of felt like I could be using my time to watch other things. So that's kind of why I personally moved away from it. Just me personally. And I didn't even mind Ruby Rose. I didn't think Ruby Rose was like, oh my God, she carries this show. But I didn't mind her in it. I thought she was okay in it. So there you go. All right. The Wakandan Forever also writes, are you into extreme sports? Not really. I used to skateboard as a kid. I used to do, true story. One of my worst times I had to go to the hospital when I was a kid. I was very, very active when I was a teenager. Like I played every high school sport. I did like all this kind of stuff. And I was snowboarding. Back when snowboarding was literally taking skateboards and just taking off the wheels and waxing up the bottom of a skateboard. That's when I was snowboarding. And I had an accident. I had a snowboarding accident that ended up putting me in the hospital with like a cracked sternum and stuff like that. Freaked my mom out. Yeah, it was awful. So no, I've not really done a lot of it. I mean, I've done like a little bit of skiing and stuff like that, but honestly, not much extreme sports. I do get a kick out of watching it though. I do. Anyway, where are we at again? Oh yeah, Skateboards Kid. One of my favorite video games was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. My wife actually loved, my wife played that game all the time. Favorite films, Gleaming, The Cube, and Back to the Future scenes with skateboarder, hoverboard. Do you have a favorite X Games event? Not really. I mean, when I tune into the extreme stuff, I like the flashy thing. So I love watching, like when the skateboarders do the half pipe and they're like launch themselves 500 feet into the air. And I'm just going, oh my God, they're going to kill themselves. I mean, I gotta admit, I get a kick out of watching that stuff, but I don't follow it like terribly close. I admit I don't follow it terribly close. But yeah, when I see that sort of stuff, I gotta admit, I'll stop, like if I'm flipping through channels and I see that song, I was like, I'll stop there and watch it a little bit. Whether it's the dirt bike it's the high flying stuff. So the motocross stuff, the BMX stuff, the skateboarding stuff, like when they're like, I don't really watch when they're doing the like skateboarders are doing their chorus, but when they do the big half pipes and they're doing the air, that stuff I get a kick out of watching because I could never imagine myself doing it. But that's the stuff that really gets me watching. All right, Wakanda Forever also writes, one of my favorite pastimes is to walk hiking trails. It lets me get exercise and I get fresh air. It's a great way to clear my mind. Are you an outdoors man? Do you camp, hike, rock climb, ski, fish, hunt? Movie in the park, some of my favorite events. Before moving to LA, yes. I mean, my dad and my mom made sure we grew up outside. I mean, so we always like camping every year. Like we had a seasonal camping spot at the local campgrounds and things like that. My dad got us into fishing. My dad would take me out hunting. Like my dad and my mom made sure we were outdoors people, right? I have become much less of an outdoor person since coming to LA, which you might think, but LA has, better weather. Well, except for my favorite season of the year is winter. I actually love being outside the most in the winter. But yeah, I grew up hunting, fishing, hiking, a lot of camping. We used to do a lot of camping and stuff like that. But yeah, I got to admit, since moving to LA, I don't know what happened. I moved to LA and suddenly I wasn't doing that stuff anymore. I'm not really sure. Even though, I do a little bit of hiking now and again with Ann. There's some beautiful places to hike around in the San Fernando Valley. Some beautiful places to hike. But yeah, haven't done a lot of outdoor stuff. Not a lot of outdoor stuff since I got to LA, I got to admit. All right. Wakanda Forever also writes, UFC boxing fan, ever watch Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships? No gloves or headgear. Next to street fighting or Krav Maga, it's one of the purest forms of fighting out there. Do you have a favorite one, street fight scene in an action film? I don't really watch Bare Knuckle stuff. Never really have. One of my favorite street fight scenes ever, though. And if I really sat down to think about it, maybe I could come up with 10 others. But the one I'll throw that out right now is the fight scene in the back alley with the garbage canister of Roddy Piper. The Roddy Piper fight in the back alley in They Live. That fight to me is one of my favorite just street fight scenes of all time. Now again, maybe if I sit down and think about it, I can come up with 15 others that I'd put ahead of it. But off the top of my head, that Roddy Piper fight scene in They Live is one of my all-time favorites. All right, Django19 writes, I finally did it, John. I finally saw the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Good on you, man. I loved all of them, but I got to say my favorite is the first one, The Fellowship of the Ring. One does not simply walk. Anyway, the score was also great. Oh, yeah. The Shore score in all three of them were fantastic. Is it worth going to see the extended version or am I good? Maybe I will eventually, but I'm not in a hurry. Oh, yeah. See, the Lord of the Rings extended version to me is great, but I still tell people if you're only going to watch one thing, watch the theatrical cut. If you can only watch one thing, watch the theatrical cut. But having watched the theatrical cut, then go and watch the extended because it's just really interesting to see the extra material. It's just really interesting to see the extra material. I would contend that while most of the extra material is really good, none of it was necessary to tell the story. And those movies were already really long. So I always tell people, if you can only watch one, watch the theatrical. But yeah, if you're interested in the extended, by all means, watch the extended because it's just really fun to see the stuff that got taken out and to just build a little more things around it. And they're great. They're done very, very well. So I'm a theatrical cut guy, but absolutely, if you do have a chance to watch the extended stuff, and it's a big commitment because it's like 12 hours to watch the extended ones, but I'd say do it because they're a lot of fun. All right, next one up. Django19 also writes, been on an A24 binge lately. They are such a good studio with a very distinct style. The interesting thing about A24 films is not only do they do some really creative stuff, but there's a tone or a DNA or an eeriness to all the films they do. There's a very distinct style to A24 films. Anyway, I've seen Rover, which is great, Under the Skin, Enemy, Hereditary, Waves, Krisha, I haven't seen that one, The Green Room, Uncut Gems, Good Time, Mid-90s, Lighthouse, The Lobster, First Reformed, and Florida Project. Enjoyed all, but Moonlight is still my number one. That is, I think, the best one they've done is Moonlight. And of course, won Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And Midsommar next. I gotta admit, Midsommar. See, I like all the films on this list. Ghost. Oh, you don't have Ghost. Or was Ghost A24? I thought Ghost was A24. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of Midsommar. And that's one of those movies where everybody seems to either really love it or really hate it. And I don't really hate it, but I didn't particularly like it. I don't know. I'm weird that way. But yeah, look at that list. And A24 is not a household name. Like most average film goers, you say, name one A24 film, they couldn't do it. Because they're not one of those recognizable names yet, you know? But they have very quietly gone about making some absolutely incredible films. Incredible films, and they just continue to do it. Now, they've also put out some stinkers. I mean, we're highlighting a lot of their good ones. They've also put out some stinkers, but that aside, they've just very quietly started making themselves one of the more reputable studios in the business. I'm glad you had a chance to go on that little kick on there, Django. Thanks for bringing that one up. All right, David Crabtree writes, I hope Christopher Nolan's film is able to keep its release date. Me too, brother. Otherwise, its opening could be tentative. I'll give you the rim shot. There you go. Gave you the old joke rim shot. But you and me both, brother. I want that. Oh God, I want it to come out on July 17th. I want it to come. I mean, as long as it's safe, I want it to come out on July 17th so badly. All right. Everything Entertainment writes. I've noticed that in the conversation of the greatest composers, Alan Menken, that's the Disney guy, is oddly left out considering he composed 90% of Disney's golden age. Maybe not a Williams/Zimmer level talent, but I feel he deserves to be in the conversation with Elfman/Giacchino. It's true. Look, we are creatures of the now. And that's an unfortunate thing. We are a what have you done for me lately kind of thing. And we don't really think a lot about things that have come before. But you're right. Look, because when you sit down and watch one of the old golden age of Disney films, the music is so integral to it. The music is so a part of it. It's woven into the fabric of our memories of those films. And I think you raised an excellent point, Everything Entertainment. Well done, sir. Well done. All right. David Crabtree writes, with all his success in the past decade, my favorite film of The Rock remains one of his early one, 2003's The Rundown with Christopher Walken. I really, really do. It's not my favorite Rock film, but I do really like that movie. That's the movie to me that I went, okay, this guy can be a movie star. Yeah. He could become a movie star. Anyway, The Rundown, it's a fun action romp, and people should at least go out of their way to catch Christopher Walken's Tooth Fairy speech. Listen, actually, one of my favorite, because I think it's also Sean William Scott. I think Sean William Scott is the other guy in the movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. No, my favorite scene in the movie. And one of my favorite lines ever. So The Rock is trying to hunt down Sean William Scott and take him out. Not kill him, but take him away. But he's in like Christopher Walken's territory. The Rock goes to see Christopher Walken, and there's this great conversation that happens. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but I'm hoping I'm getting close. And Christopher Walken, because he's kind of like the crime boss of this area, he like says to The Rock, well, so why did you come to me? And The Rock says, because you don't take a beer out of another man's fridge when you're a guest in his house. There's just something about that line that I thought, oh, that's so cool. Because, he goes to the crime boss of the area because he wants to take one of the guys who's in the area out. So he feels he needs to go to the crime boss, say, hey, I want to ask your permission to do this. And he's like, why do you come to me? Because the way I was raised, you don't take a beer out of a man's fridge when you're a guest in his house. And again, I might be paraphrasing it a little bit there, but the line is so good. And I think that was the line in the movie that I was like, okay, this movie's all right. And then that line happens like, yeah, I'm completely on board with this movie. I haven't heard anybody mention that movie in a long time, David. Thank you for bringing that one up. All right, next up. David Crabtree writes, with my work furlough being extended, sorry to hear about that, I've actually had time to work on writing and illustrating my graphic novel/comic, Cybermex, which has been very creatively satisfying. I hope others with creative goals are able to utilize this downtime as well. Dude, that is a great example for everybody. We've been talking a lot about during the quarantine, guys, make lemonade out of the lemons. Listen, there's no getting around it. We've been dealt a bad hand. This whole lockdown quarantine thing sucks. I mean, there's no way around it. There's no point in pretending otherwise. But we can either whine and complain all the time about how much it sucks, and it does, or try to find some opportunities. It still sucks to find some opportunities. And so a lot of people have been like, I'm a big movie fan, but there's like 50 movies that I've always wanted to see that I've never done it. And they've been using this time to get caught up on those movies. Somebody just wrote in and said they're watching Lord of the Rings or creative endeavors. I've had people writing and saying, I've had projects around my house I've been meaning to do for years, and I'm actually doing it. Again, none of that makes up for how bad the situation sucks. Absolutely. But if we're in this situation, might as well do the best, make the best out of it that we can. And one of those ways is to engage in creative outlets. And I think that's amazing that you're taking this time to do that, David. And I love the fact that you're trying to encourage other people to do as well. This is the time to try it, guys. I mean, we're in this shithole right now, so why not take the opportunity and at least do something creative with it or something productive with it? Get caught up on the movies that you've been hearing about for so long, try some creative endeavors, do some projects around the house, whatever it is. Try doing the 100 push-up a day challenge. Do something to try to make the best of a admittedly very, very bad situation. But anyway, good on you, David, for encouraging people's creativity. I appreciate that. All right. Dave XP writes. What does Dave XP write? He writes, with Warner Brothers putting $30 million into the Snyder Cut, what do you think they'll do with all the mustache takes? Put more money into perfecting the VFX or reshoot those shots with Cavill? Well, here's the interesting thing. They're not going to use those. Remember, the reshoots, the shots with Henry Cavill with the mustache, because remember, he had the mustache contractually because he was doing Mission Impossible. Those reshoots that they did. Remember, and not every scene Henry Cavill is in is the scene with is the reshoot stuff, but they did reshoot some stuff. None of that stuff is going to be in the reshoots of Henry Cavill with the mustache are not going to be in the Snyder Cut. So thankfully, none of that 30 million has to go into trying to improve the mustache stuff. The mustache stuff just simply won't be there. Because again, the mustache stuff was a part of the reshoots. This is going to be Snyder's cut that didn't have the reshoots. Remember that. So yeah, that 30 million is going to be going into, I don't even know how they're just going to spend 30 million. They've got a lot of work to do on that movie. They have got a lot of work to do on that movie. And hopefully 30 million will do it. But I just hope they just don't half-ass it. I mean, if you're going to do it, just don't half-ass it. All right. A Silly Goose writes, hey, John and Rob, who's not here right now, obviously. This is my first time writing in. Well, thank you so much, Silly Goose. And I just wanted to say I really enjoy the show every day. Thank you so much for that, man. My question is, between World War II and Vietnam, which war do you think had the best movies made about it? Thanks, and have a good one, fellas. Ooh, that's tough. You know, it's really weird. When you sit back, there are exceptions. And maybe I'm wrong about this. But when you sit back and you look at World War II films, and obviously we have more World War II films because a lot of movies were made about World War II before the Vietnam War. And you look at the Vietnam War films, I feel like the World War II films tend to focus on the heroism of the heroes in World War II, right? I find that it focuses more on heroism. Whereas when you look at, and there are exceptions to both, but when you look at the Vietnam-based movies, they're really more, instead of focusing on the heroism, they focus more on the awfulness or tragedy of the Vietnam War. And again, those are not two blanket statements that just cover the totality of all World War II films and all Vietnam films. Not at all. But I'm just saying from a personal viewpoint, like when I think of a World War II film, I think a lot of the older ones of World War II, a lot of the heroism, like the heroes of the war. When I think of like Vietnam films, I think of like Apocalypse Now or, oh gosh, the Oliver Stone film or the, Willem Dafoe, it just feels like one war, and the movies about one war focuses on heroism. One kind of focuses on more of the human condition and tragedy a lot. Even Da 5 Bloods, right? We just saw a trailer for Spike Lee's new film, Da 5 Bloods. It seems like that focuses on that too a little bit. So I'm going to say even though there are fantastic movies about the Vietnam War, I'm going to say World War II. I'm going to say, I'll just say that. And maybe I would give a different answer if you ask me in a month, but for now I'll go with World War II. Interesting question, Silly Goose. Thanks for that, man. All right. Convoluted Clarity writes, Avengers Endgame annoyance. Captain Marvel flies through and destroys Thanos' ship. Then, Peter Parker wonders how she will get the gauntlet to the time van because of a battlefield full of bad guys, so requires a team of street-level fighters to help. Yeah, see, I remember thinking, you're Captain Marvel, how about, here's the battlefield, instead of flying through the battlefield, how about you do this? Here's the battlefield. Okay, I'm Captain Marvel. Whoop, up into outer space, move over, come back down. Boom, there. How about that? I don't know that, but listen, people get mad at me when I bring this up, but it's true. There's a lot of fan service and illogical things that they do in Endgame. Let's just look, and people get mad at me when I point it out. Why are you nitpicking, John? Just appreciate it for how great it is. I do appreciate it for how great it is. But if we're going to be honest, let's not turn a blind eye also to some of the ridiculous things that they do in there. That was one of them. Captain Marvel could have easily just boop, popped up 10,000 feet into the air, sailed over a bit, and then come right down into the time van. Could have done it just like that. The fact that, now listen, I loved the scene. Like every movie theater I was in, when all the female heroes assembled to do that big rush push, the audience went crazy every time. Granted, but what are the odds that it just so happens that the collection of heroes were all right there to gather together in that thing and go? Very unlikely. It was very much a big fan service thing, right? One of the big ones to me that I always talk about, and granted, it is a bit of a nitpick, but every time I watch Endgame and that final battle scene, it still irks me a bit. You know, Captain America's like, touches his ear, right? Touches his ear. That's him using a communicator. Does anybody have eyes on so-and-so? And meanwhile, Wasp, who just got undusted, we're on it, Cap. Wait a minute, time out. Hold on, hold the phone for a second. Time out. Where the hell did she get a communication device? Like, when everybody undusted, was Doctor Strange standing there with a big Easter basket with, you get an earpiece communicator, and you get an earpiece communicator, and you get, and everybody now has earpiece communicators so we can all talk to each other. And granted, it's a small thing. I'm not saying it ruins the movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's a little thing to me. It's like, how the hell is Captain America or everybody just talking to each other? Just magic. Okay, I get it. You're magically touching your ear. You do not have a communicator to talk to everybody. Where'd that come from? I know it's a little, but it's just an example that in Endgame, as much as I love Endgame, that whole final battle scene, there is a lot of nonsense in it. Crowd-pleasing nonsense, but a lot of nonsense nonetheless. Right? There's a few like eye roll kind of things. There's so much fan service in that last thing, but fan service used to very great effect. Because as much as there are a lot of logic problems and things that just don't make sense and like, ooh, look at this coincidence and blah, blah, blah in that final battle scene, one cannot deny that the end result was movie theaters filled with people losing their minds. I mean, and I'm one of them. Like, dude, when Mjolnir flies past Thanos and Thor and ends up in Captain America's hands, are you kidding me? When Captain America starts beating the shit out of Thanos with Mjolnir and is like, boom, boom, like beating the hell out of him, are you kidding me? When we hear on your left and the portals open up and all the heroes start to come through, are you kidding me? And even that, what do they call it? A-Force, whatever it is, when all the female characters, even though it has as tactically unlikely that would happen, the audience pop was undeniable. The pop was huge. People in the theaters like, like it is. I mean, yeah. Why did Captain Marvel have to fly straight through? Whatever. But when he goes, I'm Peter Parker, and she goes, hey, Peter Parker, like everybody in the theater I was in lost their minds. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of silliness in it. There's a lot of big logic problems and all that kind of stuff. But it delivered an experience. And at the end of the day, isn't that what movies are supposed to do? Deliver an experience. So I'm with you, Convoluted Cleric. Believe me, I'm with you. But we can't deny that the result was big fan excitement. right? Can't always do that, but here it worked. I mean, at least in my opinion, it kind of worked. But anyway, that's a conversation we can go on to with a long time. What's next? John McKinney writes, after watching Equilibrium, I believe Christian Bale should have been Anakin Skywalker in the prequels. I think he'd make Anakin less whiny and more sympathetic. What do you think? Again, the whole X actor and X role thing, whatever. Look, is Christian Bale a better actor than Hayden Christensen? Yes, Christian Bale is one of the great actors in the world. So, I mean, that's no slight on Hayden Christensen, who's a good Canadian kid at all. Christian Bale is a better actor. But again, it still would have been Christian Bale saying, I hate sand. It's rough and it's coarse and it gets everywhere. He still would have said it. It doesn't change the script. You know, I think we as film fans, and I get caught up in this, we think that if it was a different actor, the actor goes in there and makes up their lines. No, they read the lines I mean, there's some exceptions, but for the most part, they go in and read the lines that are in the script. And it still would have been the same problem. But Christian Bale is an actor who is capable of stepping in and elevating the material. So it probably would have come across a little bit better, but the underlying foundation of it is still a bad script. As Harrison Ford once said to George Lucas, you can write this stuff, George. You can write this shit, George, but you can't say it. You know, that's one of the most infamous. Go look that up. Harrison Ford telling that story is great. Saying you can write this shit, George, but you can't say it. And the prequels are plagued with that. The prequels are plagued with that. And even if it was Christian Bale, I'm sure he would have elevated the material, but the underlying problem still would have been there. You know what I mean? But I see where you're coming from on that, John. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, man. All right. Todd S, I should say, writes, according to Justice League cinematographer, only 10% of the Snyder Cut was used in the theatrical release. Also, do you think they should release the cut in both IMAX and HBO Max? Do you think it would make its 30 million back or come close? Finally, rumors of Man of Steel 2 are flying. Yeah, no, listen, the whole thing, we talked about this the other day, is the whole purpose. Like, this goes back to the same thing. Before Mandalorian came out, you guys remember, there were people writing and saying, do you think they should take Mandalorian and do a theatrical release of it and put it on Disney Plus? And I said, well, the problem with that is the whole reason Disney Plus made The Mandalorian was to get people to sign up for Disney Plus. They make The Mandalorian and say the only place you can watch this is Disney Plus. Come watch it on Disney Plus. So it would have been counterproductive for them to say, do a theatrical release of like all the episodes combined into one big long movie in theaters, because then people could just go and do that and not sign up to Disney Plus. And the whole point of it was to get people to sign up to Disney Plus. So besides the fact that, no, I do not believe a Snyder Cut could make $30 million in the box office. I don't believe it would. Deborah Snyder doesn't believe it would either. But more importantly, this is an HBO Max play. This is all about HBO Max. You know, Deborah Snyder said in that interview with Hollywood Reporter, this never would have gone to theaters. Like, Snyder Cut would never have happened were it not for the fact that 2 years ago, the plan started to formulate for HBO Max, and now we've got HBO Max, and that is giving us an avenue. So understanding that this whole thing is really a big play for HBO Max, which is brilliant, because I've been saying for 6 months they should do this. It would be just like it would have been for Mandalorian counterproductive to try to put it out in theaters. It would be counterproductive for what their goal is, which is to get people to sign up to HBO Max, if they were going to give them a different option to go and watch it. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not impossible. It could happen. Let's be very clear. It could happen. I just really doubt it because, again, what you're trying to accomplish by doing this is to get eyeballs and attention and subscribers to the new HBO Max. And you don't do that by giving people other options to go and watch it. So possible? Yeah, possible. Likely, it just doesn't seem to make much logical sense to me. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. The Cinematic Experience writes, hearing people ask for the Ayer cut now, of Suicide Squad. It's nice that Snyder gets to finish what he started, but do you see a potential Pandora's box of fan entitlement now, where if you don't like a movie, you start spamming the studios for a recut? Well, here's the thing, though. Studios, the only reason they're doing this is because they believe they can benefit from it. Like, WB is not doing this because of fan entitlement. They're doing it because they believe they can profit off these people, right? They believe that, oh, we can make money off you. We're going to benefit off of you. We are going to manipulate the situation, and we are now going to use you to make money for us with our HBO Max product. Now, that is what every entertainment company does to their audience all the time. This isn't new or unique, right? You know, they hear us demand this. All right, we're going to use you to make money off you. Thank you. And then they go ahead and make money off them. So this isn't, from a studio's point of view, this isn't about fan entitlement. This is about, they created an opportunity where the studio believes they could make money off of us, which is how the entertainment industry works. So there's nothing, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's how the entertainment industry works. There's a demand. Great. We can make money off that demand, and they do it. So it's not about fan entitlement. There's never going to be a studio that goes, oh no, we have no choice but to do this thing now. No, but it is if the studios think, oh, we can profit off these people. We can make money off these people. Supply and demand. That's what you produce, a product that fills a demand, right? So it's not about fan entitlement. It's about the studio looked at this and said, we believe there's an opportunity for us to benefit from this. And HBO Max provided that avenue that Warner Brothers could gain benefit off of the hashtag release the Snyder Cut people and movement. They now had a way to benefit and profit off of them. And it created an opportunity. And that's business. That's why new Star Wars movies get made. That's why new comic book movies get made. That's why this happens in that ones. It's business. You create a product. If you recognize there's a demand for something, create a product and profit off of it. That's what this is. And it's brilliant. So this isn't about that, fans can whine all they want. Like, for instance, back when Daniel Craig was cast as James Bond, there was this huge Craig not Bond. There was this huge campaign called Craig not Bond, and all these people wanted him removed. He's got blonde hair. He can't be James Bond. Get rid of him. Blah, 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 right? But the studio doesn't care, and the studio doesn't listen because there's not something here that we can profit off of. We know we're going to do this movie. We know Daniel Craig is the right guy, and we're going to make these movies. And guess what? Highest grossing Bond movies of all time. And it worked. If there's an opportunity, though, that a studio can see that we can profit from this, they'll do it. But it's not about entitlement. It's about opportunity. And so, and if, again, moving forward, if they think they see an opportunity that will make them money, they'll take it. And that's the way business works. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way business works. Anyway, let's see. Doug Tarnovian writes, my new favorite character from What We Do in the Shadows is Jackie Daytona. Of course, that's a Laszlo character. I won't tell you what it is, but it's the same episode that Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, appears in, where Laszlo takes on a new identity, the identity of Jackie Daytona, and he's always got a toothpick in his mouth. The hilarious thing about it is they do this ongoing gag throughout it, where it's clearly Laszlo, but his disguise is a toothpick in his mouth. No, I'm Jackie Daytona. And it's like the Clark Kent with glasses thing. Like whenever Laszlo had the toothpick in his mouth, nobody recognized him. He goes, don't worry, it is I. And he takes the toothpick out of his mouth. Laszlo! It's such a good gag. And the Jackie Daytona character was so funny. I love that. So if you guys have not started watching What We Do in the Shadows, you got to get on that and start watching it. All right, guys, listen. We've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes right now, which the time has been flying. This has been great. But if you will indulge me for a moment, I'm going to take just a quick, short, couple of minute break here. I'm just going to stretch my legs a bit, rest the vocal cords. I'm going to go refill my Zevia Cola. Of course, I drink Zevia every day. Zevia, sponsor me, you bastards. I love Zevia Cola. I really do. Anyway, I'm going to go refill my drink, all that kind of stuff. So hang tight. I'm only going to be about 2 minutes. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. And we will be right back, even though the clock says 20 minutes. I'll fix that. We'll be right back, guys. guys, and we are back. Thank you for your patience and indulgence as I went downstairs and stretched my legs a bit, refilled my drink, and now we're ready to go. Let's finish things off here, guys. And we're going to keep going on here with Chris Warden. Writes, hey, John, just wondering what's with all these hate channels taking this clip of you and Aaron talking about the new female lead Star Wars show from a few weeks ago. Then they edit it to make it look like you guys were arguing when it was clear to everyone that you were just having a simple conversation. I don't get it. Well, yeah, I mean, look, this is what they do. Now, for those of you who don't know what Chris is talking about, and I normally don't care. I don't care. But so what happened was Aaron and I had the issue came up where Variety broke a story. Variety found out that Star Wars is going to be making a new show for Disney Plus, and it was going to have a female lead character, which will be the first time they've done a live action show, because they've got Mandalorian, they've got the Cassian Andor show coming, and they've got the Obi-Wan show coming. So this one will be the first one they do with a female lead. Fine. What happened was Aaron and I got into a discussion about this. And for those of you who saw the whole show, you know exactly what we were talking about. We got into a discussion about the fact that Variety wrote this article. And by the way, it having a female lead wasn't in the title of the article. It wasn't even there. It's just that so-and-so, I can't remember the girl's name, so-and-so going to be show running a new Star Wars show for Star Wars. And then in the entire article, there are 5 pieces of information given in the entire article, okay? 1, that there was a new show coming. 2, who the showrunner was going to be. 3, that it was going to be set in a different time period than we've ever seen in Star Wars before. 4, it was going to have a big martial arts aspect to it. And 5 was that it was going to be female-centric. In the entire, first of all, the female-centric part, not in the title of the article. Not even in the title. And in the entire article, the fact that it was going to have a female lead was mentioned once. And it wasn't Disney putting out a press statement. It wasn't anything. It was Variety found out this information, found out 5 pieces of information. Show was coming, who is going to be show running it, different time period, martial arts focused, female centric. 5 pieces of information were in there. And the part about it being a female lead was only mentioned once in the entire article. And it wasn't even Disney's press release. It was just Variety found this out and reported it. So Erin, who is a hardcore feminist, she and I got into this discussion about should the fact that it's being a female lead be the main thing that they're promoting? And our debate focused around whether or not they were even doing that. Like, my point in our whole discussion was they aren't making a big deal out of it. It's not in the title. It's only 1 piece of information, and it's only mentioned once in the entire article, and it's not even Disney's press release. Because the narrative out there was, Disney's just making it all about being female. I'm just like, well, first of all, no. Number 1, this isn't even a Disney press release. Number 2, it's not even in the headline. Number 3, out of all the things mentioned, it's one of the things mentioned, but it's only mentioned once in the entire article. And so Aaron and I were having a really good fun debate about how much should it be emphasized in the marketing of it that this is female-centric. My whole point was simply hey, it's the first time out of they've had 3 other shows announced. This is going to be the first one. I think it's okay to mention it. That was it. I think it's fine that they mention it. Hey, it's interesting. This is going to be the first one they do that's female-led. So it's fine that they mention it one time, buried in an article when it's not even in the headline and it's not Disney's thing. So what some people then did, and by the way, Erin was furious about this. She was furious about it, but I'll explain that in a second. Some people took the video and very specifically edited it to cut out all the other stuff and only make it look like Erin was saying there shouldn't be any emphasis on female-led shows, and making it look like I was saying they should totally just emphasize that it's a female-led show. And they edited it in such a way to be very deceptive, all that kind of stuff, and they played that. And I was like, whatever, losers are going to do what losers do. But for those of you who watched the whole thing, you know that's not what we're talking about. And when Erin saw that, she was furious. And that's why on the show the other day, if you guys watched Erin's show this past Thursday, she went out of her way to mention, by the way, I think there needs to be more female-led stuff. And the only thing that I'm against is the semantics. I think they should highlight that there's more females and things. I just don't think they should use the term female-centric and blah, blah, blah. But she was furious. And I actually had to reel her in. I actually had to tell her, because when she saw that, she goes, they're making it look like I'm against female-led things and that we shouldn't celebrate female-led things. And she was furious about it. And I had to tell her, I remember her and I were on the phone. I'm like, Erin, listen, you need to ignore it. You need to ignore it. If it comes up again on another show that we do, maybe say something. But what people want to do is get your attention, and they want to get you to get involved and engage. I said, just ignore it. And that was hard for her because she really felt people were misrepresenting what her beliefs were because they edited it in such a way to make it look like something, right? But that's what they do. That's what they do. And I mean, it just like, it also goes back to the whole, like the Snyder Cut thing, right? So many people kept yelling and screaming at me. Now they deny it, but it's true. For so long, when I would say, listen, a completed version of this movie that they can just release tomorrow doesn't exist, right? And everybody knew what I was talking about. But what some people then do is they take a clip and they edit it to me saying the Snyder Cut doesn't exist. What they edit out is all the parts where I make it clear when I say that the Snyder Cut doesn't exist, I mean a completed version of the movie that can just be released tomorrow. And by the way, I was right. But I also said they would never spend $1 to finish it. Don't forget that. So if I'm going to tell you I was right about that all along, I was, but I also got to point out that I never thought they would spend another $1 to finish it. And I was wrong about that. But that being said, what they do is they edit a clip to show me saying the Snyder Cut doesn't exist, and they edit out all the stuff that shows me saying by that, I mean a completed version ready to be released right now doesn't exist. An edit exists. Of course it exists. He shot it. They're assembling it and doing edits on it every single day on set. Of course an edit exists. How finished that edit was or how not finished it was is irrelevant. The bottom line is it wasn't done. They did not have a version of the film that they could just release. And that's why I put out on Twitter a while back. I put out this tweet that got so much hate. I put out a tweet said, I really think they need to rename the hashtag release the Snyder Cut to hashtag complete and release the Snyder Cut. And oh my God, the onslaught and wave of, it is finished. You're calling Zack Snyder a liar. And I'm like, Zack Snyder never said it was a completely theatrically ready to be released version of the film. Yes, he did. It's ready. It's finished. He's been working on it for years and it's totally done and ready to be released. And I'm like, whatever. And it got so pathetic that I finally had to come up with that terrible analogy, granted, but it applies, of apples in the bag. I'm like, look, an apple is that there is a cut, unfinished, but a cut of the movie. A watermelon is a completed, ready to go version of the movie. And I'd say, no, I agree there are apples in the bag. I've been saying it forever. You all got sick of me saying it, but whatever. I said, no, I agree. There are apples in the bag. There is a cut of the movie, but it's incomplete and it's not ready to be released in theaters. But I agree there are apples in the bag. What I am saying is there are no watermelons in the bag. There is not a completed, fully ready to go version of the film. That doesn't exist. But people took a video, edited it to make it look like I was just saying, nope, not even the remotest little cut of a movie exists, which is ridiculous because you're cutting the movie and editing it together as you're shooting. Like there's dailies and assemblies and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know how complete or how incomplete it is. I thought it was more complete than it is, but anyway, that's what people do. Because look, there's an underlying problem in YouTube that I don't care about it, but, and I haven't talked about it on my show. I'm only bringing it up now because you're asking me about it, but, I don't want to go into it. I could say a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to because it would imply that I care, and I don't. Listen, there are going to be YouTube channels that want to do what they want to do. There are YouTube channels that want to be bottom dwellers. There are YouTube channels and blogs and podcasts, and there always will be, that want to make their channel about other people's channels, right? I don't like... I don't want to bring up Andy because I'm not trying to pile on Andy, but I will bring up something that Andy mentioned. And he wrote this publicly. You can all see it. And it just makes a point. You know, Andy Signore, when a lot of people, you know, Andy Signore has been, for some reason, very obsessed with me. And whatever. I don't get it, but fine. Let him. But, you know, somebody wrote to him and saying, like, why are you so obsessed with Camp? Why don't you just make content? And Andy Signore wrote, I believe on his channel, because somebody sent me a screenshot of this, saying, well, I have been making content, but where have all you people been? Where have all you people been when I've been making this content? Oh, now you're here. So basically what Andy was saying, and I get the temptation of this, I do. And I say this partially in Andy's defense. Hate is an easy thing to get clicks on. Drama is an easy thing to get clicks on. You know, my YouTube channel, because I've fallen into this trap over the years. But what I have determined is I do not want, my YouTube channel is not to be about talking about other YouTube channels. I believe that's bottom of the barrel. I believe that's pathetic, and I believe that's desperate. And I have recognized when I myself have fallen into that. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about other YouTube channels. But, you know, hate videos and stuff like that, they're drama, creating drama, those types of things, they can get clicks. As a matter of fact, I just recognize this self with my own channel too, because you guys know I've been talking for a number of months that I've wanted to do a real more lengthy breakdown about why I don't like The Rise of Skywalker. As a fan of the Disney Star Wars movies, this one Disney Star Wars movie really didn't work for me. And I've been talking for a few months, and I feel like I want to do a breakdown of that, if for no other reason than for my own personal therapy, you know? Because, you know, it's the first Disney Star Wars film that I didn't like, because I love The Force Awakens. I like The Last Jedi. I mean, you know, there are things about Last Jedi I don't like, but there's things about it that I love. I love Rogue One. I really enjoyed Solo. I'm somebody who has enjoyed all the Disney era Star Wars films until this one. And so I decided, you know, I really need to do a breakdown video. So I made this like 20-minute video that I put up the other day. Well, guess what? That video's got like 50,000 views. So, and because it appears like it's going to be a real negative video, like, and to be honest, the title of the video is Disney Star Wars Fan on Why The Force Awakens or The Rise of Skywalker Failed. So the word failed's in there, right? So it looks very negative. And looking like it's negative, it got a lot of clicks. So I get it. I do. There's a real temptation, because like the dark side, as Yoda describes it, it's quicker, it's seductive. There is an easy way to get easy clicks by doing hate videos and trying to create drama with people. And I think that's the point that Andy was making. He's saying, look, I made all these other videos and nobody watched them. I make a video trying to create drama with Campea and I get a bunch of views. And he's not wrong. In his defense, he's not wrong. I get it. It's tempting. It's easy. I mean, just like Yoda said about the dark side. Is the dark side? No, it's easier though. It's easier. So I get it. There's a temptation for that. And I have fallen into that pit myself over the years. There have been times that I've fallen into it. But at the end of the day, I just decided that my YouTube channel is not going to be about other people's YouTube channels. My YouTube channel is going to be known by what the things are that I love, not the things are that I hate. Not that I don't get upset at some things. I do get, and I'll rant once in a while. But it's important to me that, like, even if you go back to like my Robert Pattinson rant, that as Robert Pattinson's biggest supporter, I was really upset by his statement. But that was what, 40 videos ago? 50 videos ago? 40, 50, 60 topics ago? So that, yeah, once every 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 topics. I'll have one that I'm upset about something, but I don't want my channel ever to be known for what I hate. I don't ever want to be John Campea. Oh yeah, he's the guy who hates this filmmaker. I'd rather try to be known as by the content that I create. Oh, this is the guy who loves Star Wars movies, or this is the guy who loves fantasy movies, or just this is the guy who loves movies. And, you know, I remember I told this story before, but for those of you who haven't heard it, I remember when I was getting ready to do one of the last Comic-Cons, I was doing the Masters of the Web panel, and my buddy Chris Gore was going to be on it. And I asked Chris and Kyle and Harloff, and I asked a bunch of the guys who were on my panel, I said, hey, I'm thinking maybe adding one more person. Do you guys have any suggestions? And I remember my buddy Chris said, I don't know this guy really well, but this guy is got a pretty popular, you know, movie YouTube channel. Go check it out. And I'm like, okay. And I went to this guy's YouTube channel. I had not heard of it before. And I looked at it, and every single video, I mean, I'm not kidding. This isn't hyperbole. I'm not exaggerating. Every single video on the front page and all the different playlists, every single one was about things they hated. You know, I hate Game of Thrones because of this. And like 8, why Game of Thrones sucks and I hate Game of Thrones. And then like 8, I hate Doctor Who videos. And then 8, I hate Star Wars videos. And then 8, it's like every single thing on the front page was about things they hated. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. I mean, look, more power to everybody who makes their own YouTube channels for what they want to do. I mean, but the point is, I get it. There is a seductiveness to it. There's an ease to it. But I don't want to be that. And I'm going to be here and I'm going to give my opinions, and I'm going to give them unfiltered, and I'm going to give them honestly, whether they're popular or not popular. And I'm going to say what I think about of what's going on in the world of movies and movie news and entertainment and all that kind of stuff. I will give that. What I am not going to do is hopefully ever again, because I've fallen into the trap before, but hopefully ever again be one of those, did you hear what this other YouTuber said? Let's sit around and talk about what this other YouTuber said. And then let's take a video of them and then edit it really deceptively to make it look like they were saying something that they weren't saying in the first place. And blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be that. I get it though. It's easy. You can get instant clicks with it. Like I just did with that Star Wars video, even though it wasn't meant to be overly negative, but I got a lot of views on it. A lot of views on it. And so I don't know, it's just, I find it's this constant ballet. Being a creator on YouTube or social media or whatever, I feel like it's a constant ballet of trying to always walk a line. And I fail at it sometimes. Always walking the line about your desire to succeed versus your desire to follow your own philosophy, right? And I think every creator faces that dilemma. I think every creator faces that dilemma. Good ones, bad ones, everybody. I think we all face that dilemma about how much do I go against my own principles and philosophy to get views? Because you need views to exist, right? Like you don't have any, if I didn't have any views on my channel, I couldn't exist. Versus how much do you want to follow your principles? And there's a ballet to be made there, to be had there. And it's I'm not going to pretend it's easy. It's not. It's a difficult ballet to watch. And so I get that there are creators, because look, I've said before, I know I can get a lot more clicks. I've had YouTube reps. Because I've got a personal contact at YouTube who's my personal representative for YouTube that I'm in contact with and all that kind of stuff. And believe me, you know how many times she has told me, you know, trailer reactions are very popular. And they are. And I got nothing against trailer reactions. I mean, you know, the Real Rejects guys like John and Greg. I love those guys. You know, Day One. I love those guys. You know, there's good stuff there, but it's not natural to me. It's not what I do. You know, I've tried doing trailer reactions and I feel, I don't know, it's just not a natural thing to me. So I know trailer reactions are an easy view, but it's not natural to what I do. It comes really naturally to guys like Greg and John or the Day One guys or others. It comes very naturally to them, and that's great. It works for them. But I know I could get a lot of views if I just do trailer reactions. I know I could. but it's not what I naturally do. And so I have to make that decision that even though I know I could get more views if I do it, I'm not going to do it. I know that if instead of, I wrote a post just in my community section responding to some things Andy Signor was saying. I know I could have made a video. I know I could have made, like when Andy became an idiot, I suppose I could have made a video and I could have got 100,000 views on that video. I easily could have got 100,000 views on that video. I could have made a video on Andy and I could have gone blah, 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 blah. I could have done that and I could have got 100,000 views. But it's not what I want to do. And it's not what I want to be. It's just not the kind of YouTube channel that I want to create or be a part of or actively do and run every single day. So I got to constantly make choices, and every creator does, about, what is important to them, what isn't important to them, what do they want to be known for, what do they ultimately want their online legacy to be. And I don't want to be, while I am going to complain about certain things sometimes, absolutely, what I don't want to be ever is to be either always known for doing nothing but hate videos, being known for somebody who just desperately tries to get clicks by engaging in drama with other creators. Not like that. I want to work and I want to succeed, but I want to succeed. This is me doing a big self-therapy session. So forgive me, guys, indulge me if you will. This is just me doing a big therapy session. I want to succeed, yes, but I want to succeed by doing it the way I perceive it to be the right way. And that means saying unpopular things if it's what I really think. It means saying some divisive things if it's what I really think. But it's never going to be about trying to create drama with other bloggers or YouTubers or podcasters. It's never going to be about just focusing on the easy clicks. Like, 'cause I could make, listen, there are YouTubers out there who, if they just made the video I made about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, they'd see that and go, oh, let's make 8 more videos about how much we hate Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. No, I'm good. I made the one more as an exercise of self-therapy, and I tried to be positive about it, even though I was mentioning some negative things, and I'm good now. That's done. I've got that behind me. I'm not going to make 8 more videos about how much The Rise of Skywalker sucks, but I understand the temptation to do so. So anyway, you just opened up, you probably just inadvertently there, Chris, opened up a whole bag of stuff and believe me, this is stuff I wrestle with every day. It's stuff I wrestle with every day about where is that line? And, there are times I've fallen into the traps. I try to avoid the traps, but I don't know. It's weird. But at the end of the day, too, just like Aaron's situation, whatever, I just have to just go, you know what? Let people say, or let other YouTubers say who can't make decent content aside. Let them say whatever they want to say. The people who watch my show know exactly what I said. And the people who watch my show know exactly what my thoughts are on things. And it doesn't matter if there are other YouTube channels who have nothing else better to talk about and they want to talk about what John Campea thinks, which, by the way, when did I become so important? That's the part of that I really don't understand. When did I become so important that what I think about something has become the center of other YouTube channels' worlds? I don't understand that. I am a fucking nobody. So I just don't understand when I became that important. Anyway, let other people do what they're going to want to, what they want to do. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters to me is, do the people who watch my show know exactly what I say and know exactly what I think? And as long as they do, then I don't care. Then I don't care. And yeah. Anyway, is what it is. Sorry I went off on that for so long. It's clearly a very deep thing. But again, it's something I struggle with and I wrestle with every day about where do I draw that line for myself? Because I've failed at it before. So anyway, let's move on, shall we? Next one up comes to us from Dimsum05, who writes, finished Bob Iger's book, and it was pretty interesting. I can't help to feel bad for Michael Eisner, especially towards the end of his reign. All in all, unintentionally or not, you embody a lot of Bob's mentality. Innovate or die, take risks, failure is okay, etc. And listen, I'm not going to pretend that I didn't get a lot of that from people like Bob Iger and Steve Jobs and whatever. I mean, I have tried to soak up as much as I can from great leaders over there. I think that's what everybody should do. Should try to soak up as much wisdom from great leaders. And that's why in this industry, I've always tried to innovate and do new things. You know, I was the very first. I was not the first movie blog out there, but I was one of the online originals. But I was also the first movie podcast. The Movie Blog Audio Edition was the first movie podcast. And then when I went to AMC and I told them I wanted us to do video. Nobody else was doing daily Sports Center type of shows talking about movies, but I wanted to do video. And then everybody else started doing video. And then I wanted to do live. And nobody else in the movie space was doing live at the time, but I wanted to do live, and we did live. There's a lot of things that I've wanted to try to push and innovate over my career that have worked, but there's also been a lot of things that I have tried to innovate and failed, right? There's a lot, but you can't be afraid of failure. And believe me, I am terrified of failure, but you can't be controlled by your fear of failure. You know, you've got to be willing to try things, and you've got to be willing to take risks, and you've got to be willing to do different things, and it may not work. And that's okay. So yeah, I'm terrified of failing, and I hate failing. And there are things that I try to introduce. There are new segments I try to do. I mean, one of the big things, remember, I tried to do the shot clock. Remember that? I introduced a shot clock on each subject. So Rob and I would have 5 minutes just to keep the show moving and all that kind of stuff. And I put up a shot clock and I was very excited about it. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And everybody hated the shot clock. Everybody hated the shot clock. And my feelings were hurt because I was so excited about doing the shot clock thing. And I loved it, and I got so much hate for it, even from our loyal viewers to say, John, I love you, but man, that shot clock thing sucks. And everybody hated the shot clock thing. Okay, so it didn't work. And there have been a lot of other things like that. There have been a lot of other things that I've tried. There are a lot of things that I've done and innovated that have worked. A lot of things I've tried and innovated didn't work. You can't be controlled by your fear of failure. Fear of failure is healthy and motivates you, but you can't be controlled by that fear of failure. You got to be willing to get out there. And try to walk on water, man. Try to walk on water. But yeah, I do try to. It's not like I was not naturally born with that. I think I've just looked at a lot of leaders and heard a lot of good leaders like Bob Iger or Steve Jobs say, you've got to be willing to innovate or die, and you got to be willing to take risks, and you got to accept the fact in advance that you're going to fail at a lot of the stuff you try. You just have to accept that in advance, that you're going to fail at a lot of the stuff that you try. And if you can do that, then you can push through the fear of failure. But anyway, that's that. Thanks for that, Dim Sum. Appreciate that. All right, Dan Ketchum writes, like the 1918 pandemic, experts say there could be a severe second wave this fall. They are saying it's possible. If this leads to another months-long shutdown, won't this be the final nail in the coffin for the movie theaters? I hate to piss on the parade, but it may get worse for AMC. I don't think so, and here's why. Number one, our culture just wants movie theaters. It does. But number two, it's not about the problem. Like, for instance, next week, we talked about yesterday, Avatar 2 is going to go back into production, right? Avatar 2 is going back into production next week. It's not about that the problem has gone away, right? The coronavirus is still here. The problem has not gone away. What has changed, although they've done a very good job managing it in New Zealand, but there are other places, even in California, they're talking about ramping up production again next week. The difference is that the problem hasn't gone away. The difference is that people are feeling like they are coming up with protocols and measures to take to deal with it, even though it's still here, right? The coronavirus is still here. Still new cases every day. Still new deaths every single day. What has changed is not that the coronavirus has gone away, but it's that we feel, at least this is what some of them are saying, we feel we have come up with protocols and measurements and safety practices that we can deal with it while it's still here. That's exactly what the movie industry is trying to come up with right now. It's not that the coronavirus has gone away, it's that they're trying to come up with ways of doing business that allows them to do business but still manages with the threat of coronavirus through measurements and protocols and safety procedures and blah, blah, blah. And I got to believe that come fall or even early winter, that we will have learned even more about how to work through the situation without the situation being gone. And I could be 1,000% wrong about that. Look, I'm no medical expert. What the hell do I know? But I just feel like that's kind of the thing right now. They're not waiting for it to go away. They're learning how to manage it while it's still here. And if they can do that well and have trial and error and then come up with better protocols and better measurements and better safety procedures as they go, then even if we get a little bit of a resurgence of it again come fall, we might be in a position that we didn't make it go away, but we know how to navigate it. Could be wrong. But that's just kind of how I see it right now. At least maybe I'm just being overly optimistic, and that's totally possible too. All right. Nathan Taylor writes, just wanted to send my condolences for your loss. I appreciate that. Of course, a friend of mine passed away the other day that I found out about while doing the show, which was awkward to say this, but thank you, Nathan. Thank you to everybody, by the way, who sent in well wishes. I appreciated that very much. All right. Miguel E writes, hey, John, thanks for helping us stay safe during these times. You should watch The Americans. That is definitely high on my list. I keep having people telling me, John, you should watch The Americans. It's got all these awards and all these accolades, and everybody seems to love it who's watched it. It is an excellent show. Kerry Russell is great. An Emmy-winning performance by Matthew Rhys. Definitely a slow burn, but the payoffs are incredible. I have not talked to a single person, Miguel, who has watched The Americans that hasn't told me I should absolutely watch it. So it is high on my list. I will get around to watching it at one of these points. All right, Star Wars Rocks writes, hey, John, do you think that Michael Keaton could come back as a potential older Bruce Wayne and mentor a Terry McGinnis Batman? No, I don't think so. I don't honestly think anybody cares. Like, this is one of those unpopular opinions. I know it's unpopular, but I got to be honest, and maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think anybody cares for a Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond. I don't think anybody cares for it. Very few people watch the show. There's a reason it only lasted a couple seasons and then never came back. Listen, I just think to the public, when people think Batman, they want Bruce Wayne. That's Batman. That is Batman. It's not this Terry McGinnis character. That said, though, after I saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where they had the real Spider, they had Peter Parker Spider-Man, but they made it. Also, we ended up getting Miles Morales, right? And I had to go, you know what? This might increase the chances for a Batman Beyond animated thing. Maybe that could happen, but no, I don't see a live action with Bruce Wayne as an older and a Terry. Now they're invested in the Bruce Wayne. Warner Brothers is invested in the Bruce Wayne Batman. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse may have increased the chances for a Batman Beyond animated movie, probably straight to home video, but maybe even theatrical, but I don't think live action. I don't think they're going to go that way live action. Never know. Stranger things have happened. You never know. But my guess would be that no, we're probably not going to see that happen, at least not in the foreseeable future. All right, Miguel E writes, this quarantine has helped me discover excellent shows and movies on TV side. 000 on Amazon, Devs by Alex. That's another one that's very high. Everybody's telling me I got to watch Devs. So that's actually the next one up for me and Ann. For Ann and I, our next one up that we're going to start watching together is Devs, because everybody tells me it's amazing. On the movie side, just saw The Lighthouse. Crazy. Queen and Slim, so good. Pain and Glory. 2019 was such a great year for movies. Dude, seriously, 2019, a lot of people, understandably so, we look at 2019 and we're like, oh, all the billion-dollar films. It was the year of Endgame and Aladdin and Star Wars and and all these big, huge billion-dollar films. Joker and whatever. But once you go beyond how big the box office was for 2019. 2019 was stupid good for movies. Like ridiculously good for movies. It was seriously one of the strongest years, but it gets clouded. The quality of the movies that came out last year are clouded by the success by a lot of films last year. And I think both should be celebrated, but you're absolutely right, man. Last year was tremendous for us film fans. We got spoiled, man. We got spoiled with the big crowd-pleasing blockbusters and great, fantastic, dramatic. And I mean, like the Best Picture nominee list last year was a killer's row, man. That would, like, you go down the list of all the Best Picture nominees for last year, it's like awesome, 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 awesome. And then there's about 20 other films that could have been on the Best Picture nominee list. Awesome, awesome, awesome. It was a stupid good year. It really, really was. All right, James Argento writes, will the Snyder Cut come out before or after November 1st? Or so that's October 1st, 2021, when the Batman comes out. I'm going to guess before. I mean, it's all the footage is already shot. It's post-production. Now, granted, post-production is a long process. Yes. But we're only in early 2020 right now. I've got to believe it'll be within the year. I got to believe it'll be within the year. So I'm going to guess it'll be months before that date. I don't know. Maybe it comes out December 2021, but my guess it'll be out well before that. Again, just my guess, but that's my guess. Dimsum05 writes, Campea with a snowboarding injury. Yep, snowboard injury. What's next? Secret underground poker games with celebrities. I can neither confirm nor deny that I ever participated in secret underground poker games. But yeah, that was, by the way, that was the last time I ever snowboarded. I've never snowboarded again after that. That was the last time I ever did it. Campea, didn't you just give this big speech about not being controlled by your fear of failure? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. But yeah, I've never snowboarded it again. And I probably never will. That's a painful, woo. Listen, my life was never in danger, but it was so painful. Oh my God, it hurt so much. That wreck I had, that hurt so much. Yeah, it's a painful memory, man. All right, anonymous viewer writes, I did hear Batwoman is going to go after an unknown for the new lead. If true, do you think this is a good move? Seems like narrow choices with that. Well, I mean, not really. There are a lot more unknowns than there are known actors. I mean, it's 100 to 1, right? So I don't think that limits you too much. I personally don't think they should worry about it. Like, look, if I'm the head of CW, I'm getting a name people will recognize because there is a public perception problem right now, right? The Batwoman and the Batwoman fan community have just taken a big hit. They just lost Ruby Rose. You need to do a casting announcement that is good for the show, but also a casting announcement that's going to make the fan base feel more at ease. I think that's important. So if I was in charge of CW, I'm not saying you have to get a big superstar, but get a name that people will somewhat recognize and feel comfortable with. And that just makes everything feel a lot better. I think that's important right now. But, at the end of the day, if they can find a tremendously gifted and talented unknown actress, go for it. Go for it. But me, myself, just given the PR situation that they're in, I do think part of getting a name that the audience will see, recognize, and instantly feel comfortable with is important right now. I think that is a factor. But if they go the other way, they go the other way, and it can work out perfectly fine. All right, next up, Saberwolf writes, John, I love Jared Leto's take on Joker. I did too. I'm in the minority on that. You and I are in the vast minority of that, but I really did like Jared Leto's Joker. Thought it was something different in a good way. Dynamic and relationship with Harley was the best thing about the Suicide Squad, in my opinion. I agree. Wife saw him in concert, was amazing. Also can't wait for Morbius. Yeah, he's a great rock star, man. Jared Leto and his, 20 Minutes to Mars or whatever it's called, whatever the name of his band is. They're tremendous. They're really, really good. I have always liked Jared Leto's Joker. And a lot of people don't like it, and that's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But to me, it was a great new take on Joker that was still essentially Joker, the madman, the chaos. But he gave us a Joker that was still completely different, like completely the Joker, yet completely different from anything Jack, Heath, or anybody, Caesar, that any other Joker had ever done. So it was his own unique take on it while also being quintessentially Joker. And I really appreciated it. And I really felt like he was really underused. And I still to this day think, and I liked Suicide Squad, but I think the best thing about Suicide Squad was this toxic, destructive, codependent relationship between Joker and Harley Quinn. There was something mesmerizing about it. Like that scene with Common in Suicide Squad, I think that's my favorite scene in the movie. Because it's all about that toxic, destructive, unhealthy, codependent, psycho relationship between Joker and Harley. That scene where they're at the club and they're in there with Common and Common's doing his thing and he kills Common. The whole thing. I love that scene. I love that scene. To me, I'm mesmerized by it. And that whole awful relationship, I'm mesmerized by it. I really think they should have leaned into it more. I really do. But yeah, that's me. All right, Craig Dukas writes, Hashtag remove the special edition cuts. Yeah, that's never going to happen. Not as long as George is alive, unfortunately. I wish we could get the original cuts of Star Wars back out again. But as long as George is alive, it's never going to happen. Because to George, those don't exist anymore. The special edition and the things that have come after, that is the true version of Star Wars as far as George is concerned. So, I mean, as long as he's with us, that's not going to change. It's not going to change. We're never going to get that new version of. Now, some people say, well, they belong to Disney now. Yes, but you know that George made that a part of the deal to sell it. That those old versions is not my legacy. The new versions are the true versions of the movie, and you can't release them. Now, maybe someday in the future, hopefully not for many, many years, but maybe one day in the distant future when George isn't with us anymore and one of his kids have taken over his estate, maybe one of his kids then goes, you know what? Let's re-release my dad's original versions of these movies. And then they'll give permission to Disney to do it. I don't know. But until then, it's going to be a long, cold winter, my friends. A long, cold winter. All right. Kyle R. writes, hey, John and gang. I was wondering if you've seen the Suspiria remake. Yes, I did. That came out a couple years ago. Was it multiple years ago? It feels like it was just last year. Was it multiple years ago now? Anyway, it came a couple years ago. As I felt it went under the radar for most people. And do you think there might be a sequel coming, considering there's been no word on it since 2018? Thanks. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get a sequel to it. And I'll be honest with you. Look, it's one of those movies like the original that is specifically made in such a way that it's automatically not going to appeal to a lot of people, but that's fine. It's made to appeal to a certain demographic. And that's fine. A lot of successful cult classic movies are made that way, and that's great. I wasn't a big fan of it, to be honest with you, overall. And I don't think it had the kind of success that it would need to where you could convince a studio exec, hey, let's put up the money to make another one. And the exec's going to look at you and go, really? So it could. It could. Let's just say this. I'll be surprised if it does. I'll be surprised. In today's time when everything is sequel happy, and that's not a bad thing, it's certainly within the realm of possibility. But I would be surprised if it did, Kyle. I would. All right, next up. Nerds of porn. Whenever I hear the word porn, sidetrack. Whenever I hear the word porn, have you guys ever seen that video? This is from like 15 years ago, where it's all done with World of Warcraft characters. But have you ever seen it? If you've not, you should look it up. Look up let me see if I can find it, because it's been a while since I looked it up. It's called The Internet is for Porn. Hold a second. Is for porn, Warcraft. Oh yeah, there it is. If you search Google for The Internet is for Porn, Warcraft, you will come across a little 3-minute video that's all done with World of Warcraft animation characters, where they made up this song called The Internet is for Porn. It is one of the funniest things I remember. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen on the internet at the time, and continues to this day to be extremely funny. I don't know why, but whenever I hear the word porn, I think of that song. Anyway, Nerds of Porn writes, John, what do you think about the new proposed 24-team NHL playoff tournament? Did you see the bracket? Do you think your Leafs have a chance? Listen, this is a very unique situation we're in. They're trying to come up with something in some way to salvage the year. So I'm all for it. I haven't looked at the bracket yet. Do the Leafs have a chance? Listen, I think the Leafs were playing good hockey. I think they showed their potential was very, very high. They're not going to win. But it's also been such a long layoff now. I don't know where every team is at. I don't know if rust is going to affect some teams more than others, stuff like that, but I'll be cheering for it. I just love the notion of sports coming back. You know, UFC came back, which is the best thing ever. And now we've got other sports slowly starting to talk about how they're going to come back with or without a crowd and audience. I'm perfectly fine. I'm just going to be happy to watch some damn hockey, man. I'm just going to be happy to watch some damn hockey. All right. Dimsum05 writes, Campea mentions other YouTubers' names. Oh, Campea, why did you say that name? Maybe I shouldn't even mention the name, but it was just in the midst of a conversation. Don't worry, I'm not going to be titling my video that or anything like that. Every time you say their name, you give them undeserved attention. I can see them revving up their Windows Movie Maker to make their 10-minute and 1-second content for free clicks. Yeah, that might be true. That might be true, but I will not go out there and title my video anything. But for those of you who saw me talk it, you know the context I gave it in. All right, Dim715. Oh, and we're at the final question of the day, and we almost made we almost made it to under 2 hours, but just a little over 2 hours. Dim705 writes, final question from today. I know you were a break dancer, but did you ever mess around with DJ turntables? My brother had a set, never let me play around with them for obvious reasons. I didn't really on that level. No, I composed a lot of music though. Because I've been into music most of my life, and I used to have a lot of keyboards and stuff like that, and I would compose a lot of music. Even like when my buddy when my buddy Rod and I used to live together, we had like 4 other friends live in the house with us, and a number of them were musicians, and we used to play music all the time, and I would do a lot of music composition. And I would do a lot of that, but the turntable stuff, I never actually did the turntable stuff. Not that I didn't like it, it's just that wasn't my skill set. So I never did the turntable stuff or anything like that. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic for this weekend. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of it. Listen, have a great weekend, guys, and please do the 4 important things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you as you're doing it. Remember, there's a lot of other people out there who are hurting even more than we are, and see if you can do something to make their world a little bit better today. That'll do it for me. Don't forget, on Monday, the John Campea Show returns with me and Robert Meyer Burnett. I do hope you plan on making that a part of your day. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported this channel while you did it. And all of us here on the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you guys very, very much for that. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.